we need to adjust our position. But to do so, we definitely need to understand what will be the final conclusion. So that the one of the difficulties that today that everything is quite changeable, and we cannot expect that what will be the final conclusion about these ideas. Luckily, as of today, that the percentage of the Chinese-built vessels in our fleet is relatively small, because we were supported by Japanese shipbuilding industries many years. However, nowadays the competitiveness of the Chinese shipbuilding is quite strong. So if we will think about the new buildings from now on, we cannot ignore that the existing of the very competitive and gigantic Chinese shipbuilding industries. Therefore, we really need to understand that the magnitude of this arrangement by U.S. government. That perhaps that we can use the Chinese built vessels only non-U.S. trade, if it will be possible. However, that to do the business without new buildings in China is not realistic in today's industrial reality of the shipping market. Right. So we will. I really hope that at the end of the day that they can find out a reasonably acceptable the goal for.
Hashimoto-san, if say you are forced to consider shipping vessels that are not made in China, whether they're built in Japan, South Korea, or elsewhere, is there a concern that perhaps that will drive the cost of business higher? Because as you mentioned, it's very difficult to compete against the Chinese shipbuilding industry at the moment. Is that something that Mitsui O.S.K is preparing for, perhaps the rising cost of doing this business?
Yeah, cost is one thing, and but the capacity is another thing. That compared to the Chinese the shipbuilding industries, the Japan and Korea are specialized to the particular sectors, and the total size of the capacity is much smaller. Therefore, we have to choose that the sector. For example, that LNG carriers nowadays only Korea and China can construct the competitive LNG carriers, and Korean capacity is relatively limited. So therefore, that if we cannot utilize that Chinese capacity, and so that perhaps that Korean capacity will not be enough to cover the global demand. That is a real issue for us.